if a secularist could say, "Hey, listen, I don't believe in turban, but if somebody wants to wear," and today I think that this is probably much more. I think the
Yeah,
older folks are the
give it
ones who
another
feel.
10 years.
I mean, I think today we're seeing this. The older folks are the ones who'd say, "What's? It's just so despicable to see turban and university." I'm like, why? What do you care? One or she dyes her hair green. What the hell do you care?
Yeah,
What I'm
but
trying to say is,
I mean, you have to understand. I
he's
mean, I agree with.
back.
Yeah, I'm back. Um, but you
Come
have to
back.
understand until my mom hears me. But anyways, you have to understand that this polar unipolarization is also supported by the Turkish state because Erdogan wants secularists to, act like, wannabe Europeans, and he wants them, to look down on the common people, so he can accuse them later on of being like elitist, of being like white Turks and so forth. So this division actually makes sure that the Turkish state preserves its authoritarian structure.
I
I
don't think
mean,
he could win politically any other way.
no, but I mean, like, what he's trying to do is like Burak Kadarcan is like has written a lot of pieces about this. What he's doing is actually just making sure he's dividing Turkey in two parts. Like 50% is secularist, 50% is conservative, and what he's trying to do is like tries to keep divide the Turkish population even more by making it like a very black and white picture, like you are either for us or you are either against us. And for him, it's like very positively because he only needs like 50% of the vote, right, to stay in power. He doesn't really care about and anthologizing the other 50%. So this identity politics, what I'm trying to say is like this identity politics is supported by by elements of the Turkish state itself.
Not Erdogan.
Erdogan is a master player, master chess player when it comes to this. That's the reason why he stays, he's almost 2 decades in power because he knows when he
Are
has.
more entrenched people that actually want it.
Yeah, basically what he does is like, back in the early 2000s, and this is kind of ironic. It's like um, you were usually voting either for CHP or for MHP. CHP and MHP were like seen as natural allies. This Today it seems weird, but back in the days it was like that. And today,
I think it's weird how Mehep is with Akpar.
yeah, but I mean, like, that's exactly what Erdogan does. He does like he plays in people's sentiment more than any other Turkish politician does. He knows what the people want. I mean, I intensely hate him, but he knows what the Kurds want. He knows what the Turkish nationalists want. He knows what the secularists want. So he just knows like
I
what he
think
does.
Erdogan was overruled about the Kurds. I mean, what I think his
No,
initial overtures to the Kurds was very.
what he does with
That's how he was able to.
I think as his brand of political animal is, I
Machiavellian.
think it's more to think of him. Yeah, I think it's better to think of him as a pragmatist working for their career because if you go to his youth,
He
the
was
stories
pro.
you hear.
Yeah, he was
No, no, no,
pro-Islamist.
nothing about nothing about ideological stuff. It's or what he said. When he was an MP candidate for Saadet Partisi, or was it? It was
Yes.
called Saadet
Yeah,
Partisi
yeah,
at that
yeah.
point, not Refah or
Yeah,
MSP.
Rafa.
MSP probably.
Yeah.
Anyway, they went through these stages. Um, they were shut down and reopened multiple times. When he was an MP candidate, he won his district in Istanbul,
Thanks to the
and
prostitutes, by the way. Is
thanks
it
to what?
thanks to the prostitutes?
That
Like,
too. And
Here,
what happened was they had to choose, due to the system back then, the party had to submit to parliament which MPs were going to come from that district, which MP was going to come from that district, because the way it worked was they were basically over-elected, and then the party in that case would have to choose the MP that was going to go. It has to do with the whole districting thing. And he was the go-to. He expected to get the seat because he had gotten more votes than the other guy who was in a different neighborhood. And the party basically screwed him over. And his response was taking his gang, because that's what they were, and storming the party Istanbul headquarters. And
He's a
they,
street guy, by the way. That's why
yeah,
street dude. I totally see it.
yep. And
That's
the
that's
way
his.
they managed to the way they managed to get them out and calm them down was promising him the candidacy for the Istanbul mayorship, which, through a stroke of very wonderful circumstances, shall we put it, he won, which is
Yeah.
what catapulted his career. But I don't think he has an ideological bone in him other than some values politics. That's about it.
Yeah, he's just basically a basic conservative, but other than that, like he
So,
doesn't really care.
Muawiyah, do you know this like early figure?
Yep.
Who?
Everybody accuses him, Muawiyah, who was against Ali.
Oh
Wait,
yeah.
Khalid Adib says that he was Muawiyah is Kemal Atatürk's favorite Islamic caliph because he was just a shrewd politician. Also, at the same time, is it fair to say, because he's accused of this, he's accused of doing whatever he needs to say.
Yep.
If think about it this way, if you think any leader who is a leader, right, just cool guys who sit around until 3 a.m. chatting on this. We're laid back, chill guys. We're happy just to have like a small piece of pie, and we're content people. These people who are leaders, they think they have like a kader stood out for
Right.
them, right? It's not I'm not saying that he doesn't have his career. Not have your kader if you don't have your career. So I think it's both with this guy, and I think it's both with a lot of these politicians.
Well, but the thing there is that the background, or rather the motivation, and the background matters in the sense that, like, he's not a statesman. He didn't climb the ranks by the kind of more established or traditional party
Sure.
interior politics of a party, right? He's a much more in your face kind of guy.
An
And
outlier. He's Trump, right? Turkey's Trump.
well, I wouldn't, no, actually I wouldn't go, because I mean, aside from Trump just being 4 years in as a politician, it's more the way he apparently handles government work is very much the same, like he's managing a gang. That's not Trump.
In a way, it is though.
In a way, it is though.
No.
Yeah.
No, because Trump's influence in the government is not of a gang leader.
True,
He
but
doesn't have that kind of pull, and he doesn't have the character for it.
I do believe that he has the character for it, but I think that the United States
System doesn't let him. Yeah.
I
Doesn't
don't know.
let him.
I mean, I'm not really sure. I haven't, honestly, I don't like talking about Trump. It bores me awfully. But like the point
I
is
love
that,
that guy. It's just
yeah, it's more
but like the
personal.
for
point is
me,
that
like
Erdoğan can strong arm the Joint Chiefs, right? Erdoğan can strong arm anyone that's working for him, which is the key thing there.
Yeah, but
yeah,
If
that's what I
push
was trying
comes
to
to
say.
shove,
Is that
he's
in
going to push.
Turkey,
I mean, again,
institutions, the nature of the institutions is that they are relatively weak. They don't have that kind of independence. They are able to. America, like if Trump were to tell chiefs of staff, for example, of the army, hey, you have to do this. Everybody in America, even his own followers, would turn against him.
Yeah,
He's the
but
army guy. That's the culture, right?
Well,
culture is
right,
this
but
way.
the thing there is, this was not like this before Erdogan. Governments were much more about the collection of ministers and the like than a single guy and that kind of behavior. They were much more, cooperative and fragile. Um, Today, his influence is, or the way he serves the state is, in my opinion, by generating what's it called? Uh, I I forget the word.
Say it in whatever language.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of it in Turkish. Meşruiyet.
Oh,
Legitimacy, like, or
There we
so
go. He generates a lot of legitimacy for whatever policies being pursued, because I think his personal power has taken a back step since the whole
yeah, I mean,
breaking up
since
of the
lately,
Jamaat thing.
I mean, this is obviously
Yeah,
Turkey, but since lately they even released like mob leaders from prison.
yeah, and he does that. He does those horse trades now. But the point is that the way he functions, whatever his power level may be, whatever he can influence, he turns the institutions he takes over into that structure of like a gang. It was not like this.
And would you actually say that it was? I mean, like you make a big claim here, like saying that I wouldn't necessarily. You say that the Turkish institutions before Erdogan were much more independent, right? Or do I misunderstood
I
it?
would call them more, like I would call their institutional character more developed. That's maybe a
Uh,
weird way to put it, but yeah, so think of the Devlet Planlama Teşkilatı, right? I mean, obviously it was dismantled in the
yeah.
90s. The DPT could strong arm any government if it had to. That's obviously not a
One
great
is
thing
is
in many
that
respects.
exactly in America could not happen because the army is screwed. At that point, they would run out of money, run out of legitimacy. The media would be against them. The politicians would be. They would the, the way that the American system works is basically like the great powers of Europe. If anybody tried to get, everybody joins against him to break him down, to put back into his place.
Right, but the
Happening with
DPT
the
would
fact that
only strong arm you on economic policy and how to manage the state businesses, because that's what it was meant to do. That's what it's um,
but can we
the
then
army
and it
can
did
still
this all the way
stand
up until the
if they
90s.
want to.
but can we then argue that Erdogan is rather like um because there's often this discussion whether Erdogan is a symptom or the origin of the problem. Like, what do we
Depends
argue
on the problem.
when
I
it
would
comes to
call him
the
a player.
when it comes to these institutions? Like, would we argue that he is the cause or the symptom of it?
I think he deserves, um, and for him that's probably a compliment. I think he deserves uh, the characterization of someone who truly is special and unique and with um, influence and a determining force in Turkish history.
Okay,
So
let me put it to you this way. I think, for example, that Erdogan has never been overruled.
what? Erdogan
No,
has
I wouldn't say that, but obviously there's a degree of back and forth, but I think when he's overruled, he can't be overruled other than a specific issue. Um, so that's probably what happened with
Oh,
the Bahçe
with
Mutabakatı,
with
for
Syria,
example.
I think he was overruled. In Syria, he was overruled.
By
In
who?
uh,
by Assad
you know,
or by Putin or
I don't follow.
the military overruled.
To
Uh,
go into
you know,
Syria?
I think they wanted that. Yes, I don't think he did.
No, I
Doesn't make
disagree.
sense.
no, because
I disagree.
yeah, I disagree with that as well. The reason why the Turkish military is in Syria is so that not extra refugees are coming into Turkey, because like the refugee crisis has become
No, no, no.
Erdogan's Achilles heel.
Refugees help Erdogan.
No,
I
but
were Erdogan, I give every one of them citizenship.
yeah, in
I
that
give every
sense,
one of
yeah,
them
but I mean,
citizenship.
you are going
Mm,
to,
They
you're
have
going to,
AK Party
okay,
until
but
21.
so the question about going into Syria, that I think the first operation was right after the coup attempt. That was, in my opinion, obviously there were other factors, but I think the trigger there, the
Oh,
moving
okay, yeah.
factor was the was to show to foreign powers that that that his government, or this country or whatever, uh, was going to be decisive and not take a back step because of an internal, or in their view, caused by these foreign powers, uh, uh, setback. So that first operation, for example, um, to El Bab, was so haphazard, so rushed. I don't think the military itself would have ever done that way. I think it was the government that was the moving force behind that,
Took out
and
Bob within
everything
a
just came after.
couple of minutes. I mean, I don't know about Mr.
What would have been a
Haphazard.
couple of minutes? No, it was truly awful.
Bob was to take it from the first time around was just, look at, for example, Kobani. Kobani took like 2 months.
Right, but with Al Bab,
As a major city.
first of all, they had the wrong military structure because they couldn't trust anyone, so they went with the special forces commander, whose job is not to plan land invasions, right? And um, and the loss rate, the casualty rate on that operation relative to its size is still the greatest in the Turkish operations in Syria relative to
Uh,
size and length.
how many casualties were there?
Oh, I don't remember, but like
77.
the tanks were popping like flies.
What was that? I'm sorry.
I have to look it up.
There were 77 casualties in Al Bab.
27.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But like
77.
I said, Al Bab, for example, and they're trying to lost thousands. You know what
Who
I'm trying to say? Like
I mean,
Kurds.
that's,
who lost?
oh, the
Yeah,
Kurds.
but we're not talking about the Kurds. We're talking about the Turkish state's actions. I'm trying to provide an argument for
I mean
why
that
it
these are
was
hard places to take. These are places where this is, to house warfare. You know what I'm trying to say?
right,
Heavy casualties.
but
Just to make like
right,
one,
but the
just to,
point is that it's commonly accepted now, at least by people I follow, that it was rushed. It was as much panic as it was planning, and that's not within the mindset of the military. There was a foreign policy aim there that was not within the purview of the military. It was about the government, is my point.
What did the government want from opinion?
To show resolve, and I know it sounds weird, but really that's how the public thinks in Turkey, and that's how the government thinks in Turkey, at least from what we.
But for
Um,
example, the second
for
operation.
for him, for them, especially right after the coup, the immediate thought was that the Americans were again behind it. That because it was the Jamaat, the CIA was definitely involved. Yada yada. I won't go into if that's true or not. I have no idea, or rather, I
Nobody,
don't have any evidence for anything. But
nobody can.
yeah, but the idea was that, especially because Russia gave the heads up, the idea was to show resolve by a dismantling the YPG's plans, and b punishing the American support that was going for the YPG. That's my
Well,
take.
just a
I
small,
mean,
small remark that I want to make. I can cite an example, but the thing is, like, when the PKK or the Turkish Republic, the Turkish state, publishes numbers of death counts and so forth, you have to take them with a lot of grain of salt, because I don't even trust how many Turkish soldiers die during these operations.
Think they could hide it? I mean,
Yeah, I will give you one
Eh,
example, and I feel so fucked up that I didn't download the video, but there was a video that ANF published. ANF is the PKK's main channel, main media channel, and they published, like, for example, 2 Turkish soldiers that were captured, and they had an interview of them, and I checked their social media pages, which was correct. These were like legitimate 2 Turkish soldiers, and you couldn't find it anywhere on the Turkish media. So like when Turkish soldiers get captured or something like that, um, you won't see it on the Turkish media at all. So that's just one example. The PKK later took off that video, so that's the reason why I find it quite shitty that I didn't download it. But trust me, they hide a lot of shit from us.
there's a difference between capturing somebody and then you could later, but in terms of dead, when you send back, I mean, how do the families aren't going to cover it?
Yeah, but I mean,
You know what
like,
I'm trying to say? Like,
yeah, but
their
well,
son is dead. Their son
yep.
is
I,
in
I don't know,
activity.
because
Bad.
here's the thing. Here's the thing. Even if it were true, and there was some kind of cover up, no Turkish outlet would give us this information, which is what makes it iffy. I honestly don't think that any skewed numbers are that serious. Maybe they're spread out over time or something. I'm not sure, but um, it's not outside the realm of possibility.
yeah. So I mean, like, I
I guess
believe that there was like a
what I'm
controversy.
wondering is,
Yeah, go. Yeah, there was like a controversy not long ago about like a certain village had like certain amount of deaths, but like the media only reported like one death, and the journalists who were researching that were also arrested. So like imagine that the Turkish state already does like a lot of effort by imprisoning people for having like the wrong opinions online on Twitter or something like that. Now you have to imagine how extremely authoritarian they'll have to be when it comes to like these important numbers, because these important, I mean, like, only one hidden death would cause like a massive shitstorm throughout the entire country.
I'm saying, yeah, that's why I have a hard time. It's just they're if they're exposed once, it will. I'm trying to say it would cause the kind of shitstorm that I don't think they'd be easily able to. And they're like even their supporters would not be happy with them lying about it.
Yeah, but I mean, like, they actually attempted that. For example, that Turkish soldier that was burned to death, and you know the the government actually tried to cover it up. They actually said it was like 1 year later, like when the video came out. 1 year later, they only admitted that the soldier had died, because even though everybody knew it already.
And well, I mean, I mean,
Well, we're not going to get to the bottom.
some of this, yeah, that's what I was gonna say. But I mean, okay, what I mean to say is that, for instance, in the second operation, right? The I just don't. I think because of the limited nature, I don't think the military was intending. Okay, Erdogan's sort of rhetoric aside, not believe they were going to go all the way to sort of whatchamacallit, to do what they were saying that they were going to do. But the whole idea of trying to create a safe zone to prevent refugees um from whatchamacallit, from sort of, especially when you have about 700,000 or however much they are right now border, and if Idlib is under direct attack, go ahead and try. Do you think the Turkish government, which is already in bad shape media wise worldwide, when they start shooting Syrian refugees on the border, they're going to have problems here?
That's not going to
So
happen.
What do
they
you guys
can't take
think?
another one.
I mean,
They're
what
not
do
going
you
to take
guys?
another 3.5 million. They need to keep that And by the way, I believe on the contrary, Erdogan wants every last Syrian refugee. He
I
Yeah,
wants to give
disagree
obviously.
them
with that as well.
citizenship.
I mean, like, I
No, why
disagree,
would
and
you?
I disagree, and I
If
agree.
you
Like,
if he gave them citizenship, by the way, first of all, in the short term, that might actually pay off for just in terms of how they would vote, um, specifically in that instance. But um, they wouldn't. Obviously, you're creating a minority, and minorities trend toward somewhere else. And B, more importantly,
Syrians
it
tend
would
to be okay with being a minority.
it would cost him way more Turkish votes than it would gain him Syrian votes. That's not going to happen.
yeah, you have to understand that Central Anatolia and Black Sea are very
When
racist, yeah, places.
Well, I mean, it's not just about racism, but sure. I mean, um, when Imamoglu won Istanbul, when the AKP lost again, they went to Fatih, and the two things that came out of
Yeah,
people's mouths were
was Syria.
Syrians and Berat al-Bayrak.
Yeah, I've seen that on the BBC. Have you seen that video as well?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was really funny. Imamoglu wins the election, and suddenly all the pollsters and the social scientists go to Fatih. Like it was like a
You know what's actually
It
quite funny is
didn't.
like you have like leftist journalists and so forth who were praising Imamoglu, even though like he came to power essentially by shitting on refugees.
Yeah, that was
So,
funny.
so I mean, like, I see like sometimes people who are like, they hate Salvini, they hate Trump and so forth, and then they become like pro Imamoglu. I'm like, bro, what the fuck?
Okay, how many? Can I ask you this question? How many votes do you think he'd lose if his own side let the Syrians in?
How many what?
Votes.
How many votes would he
Yeah.
lose on his side? Let the Syrians in.
If he gave them citizenship.
Yeah.
I definitely, yeah. For every Syrian he gives citizenship to, I think he'd lose like 4 or 5 Turks in
What the
return.
fuck?
Oh, I have a hard time believing.
I'm
Uh,
serious. I am serious. It
of
would
his
it
own
would not
supporters,
go over well.
his own supporters.
Dude, I mean,
Yeah.
like, if you've seen
Well,
it,
okay,
like,
fine. Like his voter base is like 20-25 million, but fine. Seriously,
I just have a hard.
that's not a line you can cross in a very nationalist and this has never happened in Turkish history. Don't forget that.
well, it happened with the Balkan Muslims, but
No,
that's a
no,
little bit
no,
different. But yeah.
no. They were
Different
treated as
situation.
Turks. That's different. And same with the Circassians. They weren't even that many people compared to the native population. We're talking about what,
Six, seven,
5%?
6, 7 million. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
so like
almost 10.
7%. Well, yeah, that's not.
I mean, okay. Here's my counter argument. This is something that has been confirmed to me even by Turks that okay, they don't like that Fatah is basically Syrian occupied territory, but they will tell you that shops were just shuttered. There was barely an economy there. Syrians,
Weird.
which you can give them credit for, no matter what country they go
Oh,
to, are business folk. They bring money in. Uh, Contrary to say, I hear they bring in like again Pakistan. Okay, I'm not going to. Again, I'm not Turkish. I don't care if the government does not bring them in. Not the same. The Syrians do not have a culture that is, and despite what Turks say, yes, they speak Arabic and they're very proud of whatever kind of does tick off Turks. At the end of the day, it's basically the opposite of black people. So in America, we have this problem that once a black family starts moving into a neighborhood, all the white flight, everybody starts running away because they think their houses are going to go down. How? Okay, now there are going to basically the lower classes, the slums in Istanbul are going to hate the Syrians. I give you that, but the people with dough, the people with money, love that they're here.
Yeah, that's true. But I mean, like, there are not too many rich people, so.
But in an election, it doesn't matter how many rich people there are; it's how much they spend. What I'm trying to say is that I think that once the economic benefits, the revenues, and once the start, and also I think it's pretty easy to do, and at least linguistically wise. If you see the Syrians in Germany, and they pick up the language pretty quick.
I mean,
They tend
isn't it? I mean,
to fit in.
maybe this is just a stereotype or something like that. But I believe that the Syrians in Germany are also the better educated ones. Maybe that's just a stereotype, but I've
They
heard
are
that.
now the 1-1 agreement, and with the 1-1 agreement, they took the people they preferred. It wasn't like the million that showed up, but
Yeah,
anybody they've taken since is they've handpicked. But by the way, even if that's true, and sure, that doesn't mean that it will translate into the perception of the same thing. Like, perception doesn't necessarily match reality, and in this case, it's a pretty complex thing to explain.
yeah. So
I get think that it's not a clear cut case that, at least in my view, at least in my and actually I actually was telling this to a lot of kids here in Boğaziçi, was that if I were JHP, I wanted to start. I would fight. I wouldn't. By the way, I'm not saying give them citizenship in one day. I don't even know if you can do, even if that's feasible, bureaucratic. Oh, sorry, am I cutting off?
no, you go
No,
off.
someone's just leaving.
Yeah,
Sorry, I just heard a voice and then. No, what I was saying is that I'm not saying bureaucratically this is even feasible, but if you set time, basically exactly what the Americans did with the Hispanics, exactly what Israel did with the Soviet immigrants in the 90s. If you set the tone early on, and of course, you also have to get these people to, you got to get the new guys to play the local game very quickly.
yeah. I mean, like you're
Uh,
opting for like a very nationalist policy, and I actually agree with that. But the thing is, like, um, I guess that Erdogan sees the Syrians as some kind of card that he can use in a political game, or he did make a mistake by not integrating them, because the problem is like your policy should have been enacted from the start, but now it's like way too long. I mean, way too late, and the damage has already been done, in my opinion, at least.
I agree. I think the way he did it was sort of. I mean, I don't know if he. What I guess my main point from saying all this, winded sort of. I don't think Erdogan is as omnipotent as him credit for. I think that there are things that he can push. That there are things. I think, especially in the
No,
he can push those pretty easily because he needs, again, is not just Istanbul. Whether you were talking about nationwide, right? He has basically his people who are always going to vote for him no matter what. Uh, so if you are and so in this situation, he is able, if he is able to do whatever he wants to, if he could bully, like you said, the Joint Chiefs of Staff. There's a lot of things that he would have done to this country that I think he wanted to do, but he
no. I was more talking about his style of politics, because I don't want to call it states. Um, the
Oh, I'm
point
sorry, I
wasn't.
misunderstood.
Yeah, I'm not saying that he's like a Colonel Gaddafi, but more the original discussion was about the ideological leanings and all that stuff. The focus was on his brand of politics or his ideological views. And I was trying. I mean, the takeaway was that he basically has. He's a pragmatist to the end, to the T.
Just
So
saying his style of politics is not very statesman.
yeah,
Not just.
That's
It's not about. It's not just about being statesman. Like, the point is that where he comes from, his background, how he rose in the political system does not instill an ideological viewpoint. It's not like, I don't know.
Yeah, what Burak Kalayacan said about this is like Erdogan is a great destroyer. He is a great revolutionary, but he's a bad builder.
Well, depends on what we're building, but sure.
Yeah, but I mean like the old Turkey that he tried to destroy and the new Turkey that he tries to build.
Did he destroy really though? I mean, like I hear this a lot. This is a trope that's pushed a lot. It's the old Turkey that he destroyed.
I mean, in terms of
I
nationalism.
mean, there have been a lot of.
Yeah, in terms of nationalism and specifically like foreign policy, Turkey changed a lot. But yeah.
I was going to go more along the lines of there have been a lot of breaks from the past during their tenure.
Ones?
Most issues that were relevant in the 90s are gone, and not naturally, like not all of them, just because of the times changed, but also because they were so successful in reshaping the state and the legal system, and there's definitely been very serious damage to the institutions of this country, not to mention this ridiculous political system they've put us under.
But let's take for what, the presidential sort of system?
For example, yeah.
That
he already becomes depressive when he hears the word.
I mean, is that such a big deal?
Yes. The defining moment will come when he's going, when he's finally, ousted, because then, the parties that make up the political system, by which I don't mean parties like, political parties, but will have to decide what to do with it. And the next presidential candidate of the opposition means a lot in that sense. Because, depending on who you pick, you can tell where they're going with it. But if they don't roll a lot of that back, there's no coming back. It's not a presidential system.
From what?
Coming back from this presidential system, unless if they pick someone who can replace, not Erdogan as another Erdogan, but someone who can replace him as somebody who can assume that kind of presidential role with public support, it's going to stick.
Guys,
and the institutional degradation will continue.
Guys, what do you think about the next Erdogan? Like, do you think that it will be Soylu or something like that? Because I see
No.
great potential in him. I mean, not
he's
that I
trying.
like. I mean, not
He's
that I
trying
like him,
hard, but no.
What do you think that he will be like the face of the next right-wing Turkey then?
There's no face of the right wing. This is the one thing about Erdogan that I think he actually did do a job about, is that he destroyed the party. There's nobody but him now. Who else is there?
Yeah, the party basically doesn't
this
exist anyway. It's just a bunch of sycophants.
Used to.
Yeah, used to. Not anymore.
That was a really bad move on his part. For him, genuinely speaking, I would have set up the party, sure it was standing on its 2 feet, and then, for the sake of my legacy, I would have, if Erdogan quit around things start to get bad. Give me a
Yeah, but I mean
year.
that has
2011.
also
But then
say 2011.
Yeah.
This guy goes out number 2 to add.
Yeah, but that also has to do with the human resources. I mean, like most of his human resources, the elites, the new elites that he wanted to build with is were the Jamaat, obviously. But after his break with the Jamaat, he basically left over with people who were basically retards.
Well,
I mean, like,
wasn't just them, but and you could call the original cadre back, right? The ones that first left the party, and
could you?
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's not like they've dropped off the face of the earth, but um, like what the hell is
They
Abdulatif
left.
Şener doing in CHP, right? Like, yeah, but I mean, if you're signaling a large scale change, then they'll, no problem. But um,
So
yeah, sure. I mean,
leave, you leave.
what?
Say, baby, take me.
What?
I mean, I think when Dawood Oglu was for that period of time, remember,
Mm-hmm.
like he was kind of out of the public eye. That's when you get into negotiations and say, hey, either have a bigger part in this party or
Yeah.
what's happening. That's the theory. Is that he was hoping to, because by the way, I'm for or against these people, but I'm just thinking of it in terms of like a party structure. To have these kind of sort of dynamic go-getters, right? You need to keep the party. Okay, Erdogan's not going to live forever. I mean, to think of it that I need and once if he's gone, once Erbakan left, what happened to his party?
Right.
It's
But
nothing.
this is the thing about the right in Turkey. It implodes and then reforms. It's how they function, and it works for them because they don't have a threat of the left from of
Yeah, they have
But no,
clawing back.
they
Erbakan
have
groomed some.
Yeah, but
No, Erbakan groomed some good kids. He groomed Abdullah Gül. He groomed this guy. He
right,
was grooming these people. He smart rightist was Erbakan.
right. But the
He
point
needs
is that
this movement to outlive him.
right. But well, I don't. I don't
Erdogan,
think so. I think he's more concerned with
Erdogan
his
have the Ben Bayrak.
Yeah, but I mean, like, I believe that what he's trying to say is like the right wing always had like this demographic overhaul, demographic benefits. So they always quickly established power, but this power also, this easy power made them also
right.
more
The
exposed to corruption or absolute.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean the no the political organization of the right wing can the political structures there can be destroyed, but they can reform because they don't have any risk of the left clawing
yeah,
a lot
threatening
of
them
their support
basically.
in the interim. They don't have a
But you
culture
need
of
somebody to fill Erdogan's shoes. Who do you have?
no, but you don't see that's the thing. You don't need someone to fill Erdogan's shoes if you're the right wing because a Erdogan doesn't have to be concerned with that, and b he the right wing, it's not like these people are going away. They're just they're pushed to the sideline. They do other stuff for a while, then they show up again, and in that crucible of that chaos for a couple of years, whoever wins gets to become the new top dog, and that's how it's worked in Turkey for for a very long time.
Forever, actually, basically.
But like, okay,
Mm,
but like, think of it this way. I mean, if you have to see it the way I see it, is that you need especially politics, you need that kind of. I disagree with you about this. You do need this kind of guy. Erdogan, way before 1994, always sitting to the right hand of Erdogan. Wherever he would do, wherever he would go, this guy's face. It's not just because Erdogan took over in 1994. His face was famous. Everybody knew him.
right.
And if they, was on TV all the time, who knew him? When he ran for president, and yeah, I mean, he is back on his daddy, but it was known, right? And he was a breath of fresh air at the time. It was thing like, okay, Baba John and all these other guys, yes, it's, they did a ballsy thing leaving. I'll give them credit for the ballsy thing. In your best opinion, do you think they can get even votes? Do you think they're taking away from us? They
Yep.
form their own.
But
They
No,
jointly
sure,
grow.
but you're thinking among the of these specific party leaders. I don't think there's going to be another Erdogan era that can be, that's going to be similar to this. It's just, I mean, he is special. But aside from that, we don't need to know because um, all the cadre exist, and when they go into that chaos, the person that emerges, it might be, for example, this is just as an example, like say from Davutoglu's party, right? Let's say Davutoglu proves to be, a really not a well-liked figure, which is well within the realm of possibility. His party might manage to overcome that and sideline him and find someone who will be able to take the reins. It's not unthinkable. And when we see that person, we might 10 years later say, see, he was a fresh face. He was a, you know, he was a, um, he was a good choice, whatever, you know, what you were saying about Erdogan. And we might recognize him retrospectively.
I think in terms of how parties work, right?
Well, but
Especially, okay,
see, it's not how parties work in this case because that's not how they function. Not here anyway. And because the election law changes so often in this country, um, in many ways, every new government, uh, every new form of government, and style of government actually comes with its own uh, set of uh, I don't know what to call it, like rules of how to get there, of how to keep on to power, hold on to power, like the details of how parties are elected and the like. And that means that there is no rigid political system. There's no, the rules of the game aren't set, is the point.
Yeah, but I
So
mean,
it's a
like,
free for all until the new right wing dominant party forms.
yeah, but to what historical context can we trace this free for all back to?
Well, I mean, basically anything since the 60s coup?
Even before that? I mean, like, technically speaking,
No.
why not?
Well, I mean, you can trace it
we're
to
just
you can
following
you can
the
trace it
sunnah of
to
Ataturk.
No, no,
well,
not
actually, no,
even
you can
even
you
before.
can trace it to no, actually, you can trace it to even the late Ottoman period, where the constitution meant very little, and
Yeah,
the
that's true.
political system. So there was never a well-defined, rigid political system. There's no American constitution. There's no, I don't know, German
Padishah.
consensus. Right. There's no German consensus. There's no British traditionalism. Mm, So yeah,
Yeah, that's the
it's
thing.
it's
I
not
mean,
it's not about something that's been here. It's more about something that's never arrived properly.
yeah, that's the thing.
The only thing, yeah,
That's the reason why I obsess in a way so much with the early Turkish Republic or the late Ottoman era, is because when you read these internet discussions or the discussions that we have here, these were exactly the same discussions that they were having in the late Ottoman era. So that's the reason why, like before handling the late Ottoman era, I don't think that we can handle, the contemporary Turkish Republic.
on an academic level, I agree. Um, on a political rhetoric level, I disagree.
Why do you disagree?
Because
So is there a way to
politics.
reform it then?
Sure, in the sense that the politics of the day are defined by the problems of the day,
Yeah,
in a
but
simple sense,
I
and
believe,
solving that. So the way I think about it is, you rewrite the myths of the past.
yeah,
You don't face the past when
yeah,
you're doing when you're doing political revolutions. So or changes.
yeah, but the thing that you have to think about is this, like, how many Turks do have do have the debates or the conversations that we have currently?
Yeah, but that's the thing. You're not looking. that I'm not looking for that,
Why not?
because ultimately, well, I think it's an impossible goal to achieve
Yeah, but
in a society. I mean, I think it's quite impossible in a society that reads so little. Like
yeah, that's the
that
thing.
kind
I mean,
of
like,
meaningful political debate is not going to come from the ground up. As much as I would love it to, and as much as I would love a bottom-up political movement in this country, I only think that kind of bottom-up political movement has only been the reactionary ones for the most part.
yeah, but I mean,
It's,
like, shouldn't there be like a bottom-up movement that is organic and, you know, transcends all this excessive nationalism or Islamism or
I don't
reactionarism?
think that's possible without the um, sort of political leaders, by which I don't mean Erdogan, but like um, like the party structure, right?
Yeah,
The mayor of Kağıthane, for example, isn't just the mayor of Kağıthane. He's the guy that brings your problems to the party table, and the AKP is actually, or used to be, really good at that. So I'm not talking about leaders sort of um, being like shepherds leading a flock, but they have to have the debate. I don't think it's going to be able to happen from the bottom. What might happen at the bottom is social change, which goes on regardless of what the government wants. And for example, if certain divisions are lessened, like between seculars and Muslims and the like, especially among young people, that will translate. But it will never happen with debate. It will just be sort of a gradual social thing
so
where the
basically,
values will change.
so basically, we are fucked
The
for the
things I noticed, and
foreseeable
that's sort
future.
of, yeah, I think, yeah, if it has to come from the kids, fucked. Because I mean, I sit with
No,
these Boğaziçi kids,
He's saying like it has to come from
no, I
upper
think we're good.
class. Yeah.
Like obviously, some people are really love to be like their parents. That's fine. But
that's not what I'm
honestly,
talking about at all.
oh
Political apathy that it.
that, yeah, that's sort of
That's
also
where
ties into what I'm saying, because that political apathy, um, again, we're one of the countries that have the highest voter turnouts, but the actual debates, the actual um, what do you call it?
Conversations.
No. I mean, like,
conversation. Yeah,
no.
I don't know.
Thinking of something, actually intending to think of something, rather than subconscious. What do you call that? Like intentional. Um,
Incentive.
Deliberation. Their
no.
uh,
Like when you do
their
something like cognitively, where you
Instinct.
consciousness.
no, sorry, whatever. Let me put it in another way.
Deliberation. Say it in
No, like,
Turkish, and I might be able to translate.
no, I don't remember. I see, because I'm speaking in English, my Turkish switches off.
I have that problem too.
Yeah. Um, so what I'm suggesting is that these people are not going to have the um,
Incentive,
uh,
I think that you're trying to say.
no, they're not going to have the practice of thinking about it themselves and having the debates and putting in sort of an effort to get a worldview that is entirely consistent, and that can be that can create a workable status quo with.
I think, and I tell this to a lot, but this idea that you need a consistent idea. I mean, no American, if you ask them what their views on politics were, consistent. If they had to, they would their politics would be very weird. Half Republican,
Yes,
half Democrat.
yes, but I
They
mean,
ha-
I'm not
the
aiming.
idea that you need consistency is not necessary.
Right, but I'm not aiming for an American solution, because America has a lot of social strife, or turmoil and all that stuff. And America is America. It has a lot of. I don't want to go the exceptionalism route, but it has a lot of things that make it work for it that wouldn't work elsewhere. I mean, so
Hey,
I
uh,
Shail.
disagree, though.
Hey,
I
wait, wait,
completely
wait, wait, wait.
I
think that it works everywhere.
no.
And
Shail. Uh,
sorry,
don't forget to eat, man.
O yemiş zaten.
I'm
Are you fasting or?
Sahur yapmış.
Yeah.
Oh no,
Because
sorry. Şehirli İslam. Sorry, I thought you meant bread.
yeah, no. The thing is like you are talking for so long. It's almost time. It's almost set. So
50 minutes, yeah,
yeah. So
5 minutes.
At any rate,